Welcome to a complimentary course to learn a new language. I'll explain that, of course, in a while. Don't worry about it. This is Dr. Muafi. I'm a PhD in English language teaching, or what they call in American English, applied linguistics. I'm going to begin a series of video clips and teach you how to learn a new language. By a new language, basically we mean English. These points that I'm going to tell you right now might apply to learning any given language, be it Japanese or Chinese or Arabic or Persian or any other languages in the world. So these key concepts or main points should be taken into consideration. For one, for example, I said, welcome to a complimentary course. Well, this is obviously a course that complements your other resources or other ways of learning English, for example. And you need for this resources. This is number two that I jot down for you here. Well, you need educational textbooks to refer to in a study, and you need movies, series, whatever it is, the media's things that you have to refer to strengthen your learning that language. Of course, we mean English. Well, of course, you also need to refer to newspapers and magazines. This is also a very good source to refer to strengthen your language learning. And online websites, this is something that you can easily access today. And there are many, many websites you can refer to. They're very good websites. I'm not going to mention any one for you. I'm sure you know them already. And podcasts, also a very good source to actually learn English. Like you can listen to it or you can watch the video podcast, for example, and this way you can learn better. And of course, the cell phone apps or mobile apps are easily accessible everywhere, and you have the cell phone and everything's at your fingertip now. And also we have the AI platforms. This is a recent phenomenon, but very, very useful. You can chat with any AI platforms or any AI tools and engage in a series of conversation with the AI things like the Chat GPT or any other AI tools or websites you can go on. And we move on to the other point, which is also important, and that is the methods of your learning. Everybody has its own unique style of learning. So be careful what it is that you are happy or more comfortable with when you learn a new language like English. So your learning style might be different from other students or other individuals' learning style. And also a very important point that I have to mention at the beginning of this series of video clips that I'm trying to record and put it on my YouTube channel, and that is English through English. If you want to learn a language, a new language, you need to be able to learn it through the very language you're learning. I mean, if you're learning English, you can't learn it through German or French or Chinese. So you have to learn it through English only. And I'll let you know, in fact, later on what I mean by this. For example, one of the things you can use in order to learn English through English is through pictures, like photo dictionaries, for example. You can see things for real, in the real context, or in the books, and then see what it is or how or what English people call those objects. So this way, you can somehow learn it. Just look at the way kids or children they learn their own mother tongue. For example, English-speaking kids learn English through only English. They don't refer to or resort to other languages to learn their own mother tongue, right? This is obviously the case with your own mother tongue or in local languages. This is how you learn your own language. And also one of the other things that I'd like to mention is the vocabulary and grammar. Vocabulary functions as a very important asset, just like business people have assets and capitals, and they start up their shop with their money or wealth or, that kind of capital. You need a wide range of vocabularies, and no teachers will be able to, teach you or inject a large amount of vocabulary into your mind or into the students' minds, right? So you need to be able to refer to those resources that I told you, or the other things, just to mention, to learn as many vocabularies as you can, but don't learn vocabularies as a list or in a list, right? You have to learn the vocabularies in their own context. And later on, we will talk about some other issues like structures. For example, when we come to it, of course. But to continue my, point about the vocabulary or what comes under this category, I mean, vocabulary is the pronunciation. You need to be able to learn the vocabulary in the right way. Its correct pronunciation, how it is pronounced. Well, and also, what is their stress pattern? Where do the stress patterns go? I mean, the stress goes. Like where does it go? Like, is it the first syllable? Is it the second syllable of the word that takes the stress, or the other parts of the word? And also, we have intonation, which goes to the larger chunk of the structure rather than a word. Well, we'll explain all about them. Don't worry about them. Well, and the other thing that I would like to mention here is the expressions. Expressions, idioms, these are the things that come under the vocabularies, but may take on new meanings or a different meaning when the words are combined. So you need to be also sensitive about these cluster of words giving a new meaning. And also collocation. Some words come with the other words, accompany the other words, or some adjectives go with some nouns, but not the other things. Right? So it's available everywhere in your own language. If you just notice and pay enough attention, you'll be able to understand what I'm talking about. So obviously, in any language, including English, we have collocations. Register whether you are speaking or following, well, the formal layer of the language or the informal ones. Of course, we have many other layers discussed under register. Some people call it a style, but linguistically speaking, and correct to say, it's a kind of register we are talking about rather than a style. And also accent. Everyone has an accent. It's the influence of the first language on the second language or the foreign language, like English that you're learning. An Italian has its own accent. An Iranian also has its own accent. Or French, a German has its own accent and brings it to his new language. For example, be it English here. Well, don't worry about these things. These are very, very normal phenomena. And let's go now or move on to grammar. This is also an important point that you need to be careful about. Well, in learning a new language, in addition to vocabulary or a large amount of vocabulary that we need, we also need to learn the rules of grammar, the rules of that language. It's like the rules of a game that you need. If you want to play that game, you need to be able to learn the rules of that game too. And the rules of the game of English is grammar, basically, right? For example, morphology, the word formation. The word formation, you need to be able to learn the words, but separately, independent of the structure you use that word in. For example, whether it's a noun, a pronoun, an adjective, well, a verb, an adverb, a conjunction. What is it that you're dealing with? So you need to be wise about that too when learning a new language, especially English here. And syntax also. This is the rules of sentence structure. We have different structures in English, and we'll talk about that later in length, of course, when we come to it. And pragmatics and semantics, these are the things also discussed under grammar. I don't want to, scare you away or off by dropping these pompous words, but don't worry about them. Pragmatics is just the language in use. Sometimes it's inappropriate to use a word, although it makes sense. It makes sense to a native English speaker, but they don't use it in that place. Well, in order to sound proper, you need to be able to learn that a special expression or word they use in that context. And also semantics, which is obviously to do with the meaning of those words and the word orders you use in that particular context. Moving on to another point, and that is culture. Some words, some expressions like idioms and proverbs are cultural bound. So a language cannot be separated from its culture or the culture of the people and community that speak that language, right? So English has its own peculiar, unique culture, and other people have their own cultures. So a little bit sensitivity must be used here, or a word of caution about culture. We move on again with our language skills. Every language has 4 skills. A kid, imagine, starting their own mother tongue with listening. This skill is very important. So I mostly tell my students to listen to any resources that they have available to them, like the educational textbooks, movies, podcasts, whatever. Listen and listen and listen. This is one of your, actually the 2 inputs that you have available to yourself before learning a language. The other input is reading. But what comes prior to reading again is the speaking. So speaking is also important. I try to advise you, encourage you to speak or communicate with a person, be it your wife or brother or sister, family member, or whatever. Just find a partner and talk and speak with that partner. And reading and writing, of course, come later to the oral part of the language. These are the written, let's say, aspect of speech. So we need to be able to cover all of them while learning a new language. And then number 7 is consistency and regular practice. By that, I mean language learning is a gradual process. And you need to be consistent in your practice. You need to take regular practice. You need to be able to do regular practice. It's a gradual process and it takes some time. Language and time, they're very synonymous. And also what can be discussed here, of course, not quite related, but I put them there because there's a philosophy behind that, and I'm not going to go into details about it. And that's the working memory versus long-term memory. In any kind of learning, any subject, well, including a new language like English, well, you need to be able to work on or enhance your working memory, or short-term memory, they used to call it back then, and long-term memory. For example, words that you want to memorize. So there are some techniques you can learn on how to strengthen your working memory or long-term memory. And also IQ, just a little point about IQ. You don't need a lot of IQ, let's say, quotients to learn a new language. Don't worry about your IQ level. Everyone is able to learn a new language. Well, and the last point, patience, but not the least, of course. Patience, you need to be patient. It's a gradual process. Don't be worried if you make a mistake. Mistakes are part of the process of learning. And this learning process, I said, is gradual, it's continuous. Don't be disappointed if you make a lot of mistakes. Those people who don't make mistakes, it means that they haven't started the job or they have mastered that job. So either they haven't begun yet or they are very professional in it, like native speakers. Even the native English speakers, when they were kids, they used to make a lot of mistakes, linguistic mistakes, I mean. Well, you can look around and see it in your own mother tongue. Well, and we need a lot of perseverance in this. Hard work is needed. Hard work is needed. Practice makes perfect. And finally, have a positive attitude toward yourself. Even if you make a lot of mistakes, it doesn't matter. You can still learn it. Well, you can watch me on the YouTube channel, Dr. English, and then you can watch it multiple times as you take notes. Don't worry about it. It's all saved there. And we are going to walk you through learning English gradually. Thank you.